Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Murfreesboro.com podcast with Miss Cheryl Blanchard. Thank you for joining us. You are the title, Regional Director?
Regional Director.
Regional Director for Alzheimer's Tennessee.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Sorry. I know I had a hard time with your title. I apologize. Alzheimer's Tennessee. But thank you for coming on for several reasons. You all have some stuff coming up that we'll get to. But also, I think it was really cool that when you and I started going back and forth and talking about this, there were a lot of things that you informed me about Alzheimer's Tennessee that I did not know about. And I thought would be great to share with everybody about how you work, everything that goes on in Tennessee, all the stuff that you really do in the community, which is a lot. So thank you again for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, no problem. So Alzheimer's Tennessee. I'm just going to come out of the gate with this one. So for people watching, you are your own chapter here, Tennessee, right?
Yeah, we're an independent 501(c)(3) organization. Okay. Founded in Knoxville, and we're celebrating our 40th birthday this year.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
40, that's a good, I just turned 40.
I know, it's a great age.
I'm at 29. I turned 20. No, yes, I'm 40. But anyways, okay, cool. So, all right, well, happy birthday again for that.
Thank you.
And then, so the Alzheimer's Tennessee, it's, like I said, you're your own chapter. You do your own stuff here. How does that work for your association? Like, you do your own fundraising? Are you responsible for everything on your own? How does that work?
Yeah.
As far as
So we started in Knoxville, Tennessee, like I said, 40 years ago. And it was a group of people that were getting this diagnosis, seeing this happening in their families, and people really didn't understand it. So they came together kind of as a grassroots organization, and we grew from there. So our home is still in Knoxville, but we've grown now to truly be a statewide organization. We're only in the state of Tennessee, so everything that we do is local. Every fundraiser that we host is going to benefit the local community. So we have 6 regional offices, as you can see on the map there, and I am over Middle Tennessee. So I've got Rutherford County, which is my new home, which is why I wanted to come and meet you.
Hey, that's right. Welcome.
We're Williamson County, Wilson County. I go all the way up to Clarksville, down to Murray County. So I've got about 14, but totally focused on the Middle Tennessee region. Okay.
Nice. Actually, you just said something I want to touch on, if you don't mind. You said some of the families get confused about Alzheimer's and what all it does. So for those watching and listening, can you break it down for us? What, how does it affect the body? What does it do, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. So Alzheimer's disease is actually a disease. Now, many people, you hear them say, mom got diagnosed with dementia. Dementia in and of itself is not a disease. It's a descriptive term. It's a condition, which means maybe I'm having short-term memory loss, difficulty with word finding, difficulty problem solving, which is why they can get lost so easily. If I get turned around, I can't problem solve and backtrack. So we start noticing those things. Wow, something's going on with this person's brain, and we call that dementia. But that's not an end point. It's actually a starting point. Then the next question is, what is causing this condition called dementia? Which is important for many reasons, because a lot of things that cause dementia are reversible. So wouldn't that be great to find that out and be able to reverse those symptoms? But the main ones that we're aware of are not reversible. And the number one cause of dementia is Alzheimer's disease. So Alzheimer's disease typically strikes people 65 and older, but we're seeing now so many cases of what we call early onset Alzheimer's. Pat Summitt, Coach Summitt, is one of the premier people that you would recognize with that. But that can be, and we're seeing people even in their 40s and 50s now developing Alzheimer's disease.
Have you found a reason for that, or is it just?
We know that the two things that happen in the brain on autopsy, we see two things: neurofibrillary tangles, which is where your neurons normally do this and communicate, but they do this and get all tangled up. You can see that on autopsy. They're tangled up, therefore they don't communicate. They don't share information. It's like a phone signal. The phone signal is working. It's like this, but if you've got my carrier and you live around here, mine, it doesn't communicate anymore. And then the other thing that we see is something called beta amyloid plaques. Now, you can only see that on autopsy. So obviously that's not the main diagnostic tool, right? So we still use symptoms. And what we see with Alzheimer's disease initially is short-term memory loss. Long-term memories can remain intact. And that confuses a lot of families, because they'll say, why can he remember something from 40 years ago, but he can't remember 2 hours ago? Would you like a visual for that?
A visual?
A visual.
All right, go for it.
2020, what could you not buy anywhere?
Oh, like toilet paper.
Toilet paper, right. And the reason you couldn't buy it, John, is because it was not on the shelf. It was never stored on the shelf. Therefore, when you went looking for it, it wasn't there, so you couldn't access it. But you could buy ketchup. It was on the shelf. You might buy socks. It was on the shelf. short-term memory, long-term memory. This is a disease that
Yeah.
initially impacts short-term memory. So you and I are having this conversation,
Yeah.
but if it's not stored on that shelf,
Mm-hmm.
when somebody asks me later today, hey, what'd you do this morning? It's
Yeah.
not there. It's never stored.
never
So it's a
stored.
storage
Okay.
issue. Long-term memories are still there, though, so I can still tell you what I did 30 years ago.
Yeah, I got you.
Right? So
Wow, that's a great way to explain it.
yeah, who thought the toilet paper crisis would explain Alzheimer's
Would explain
disease?
Alzheimer's, yeah.
But I
It's
use
just not there.
It's
Okay.
it's not there. So that's what I try to tell families. They get frustrated, they get angry, and they say, "There's no way he can remember 40 years ago, but can't remember that we were there visiting 2 hours ago." Because they'll call and say, "When are you going to come? You never come." And you and I know you were there.
Yeah.
But that memory, it's not stored, so you can't go access it because it's not there.
Okay.
Then they get into word finding. They'll use the same word over and over, ask the same question over and over. We'll get lost in conversations. Those are some of the early hallmarks.
Yeah.
So we still typically can start recognizing Alzheimer's by those symptoms. Obviously, a living person is not going to have an autopsy of the brain.
Yeah.
So we know those are there. And they can do MRIs and brain imaging. We can see that the brain is actually shrinking. So Alzheimer's is still the number one cause.
Okay.
But the other three most common are Lewy body, which also strikes people earlier, and it has a lot of delusions and hallucinations early on, and falling. So if you've got a loved one that all of a sudden starts falling and you're not quite sure what's going on, if they're seeing things that aren't there, hearing things, believing things that aren't true, a delusion, you might want to have them evaluated to see if that's Lewy body, because that one behaves a little bit differently than Alzheimer's. Okay. Also typically identified by the symptoms, but on an autopsy on that one, you also do see these little sticky things in the brain, which are named Lewy bodies, which is why it's named that.
Gotcha.
And that's the one Robin Williams had.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then vascular dementia, we usually see somebody with that one because they've had strokes. So if somebody starts showing cognitive changes, and we know they've got a history of strokes in the past 3 months or so, we're going to be more inclined to think that's a vascular dementia. And then frontotemporal. Now, this one strikes people in their 40s and 50s. So this is an extremely damaging one, because you may be at the height of your career. Many people are still raising children when they're in their 50s. And this one has drastic impact on your behavior and things that you say. So your frontal temporal lobes are here. That's where your judgment is. That's where your understanding of right and wrong is. So think about somebody maybe like a priest who they know the bad words, but their frontal temporal lobe says those are bad words. We don't use those words. And all of a sudden he's using all of them. Or somebody who has always done well financially and they suddenly are gambling, going out and buying things they can't afford. Or you see somebody walk by and you have a thought about them that you know is not nice to say, but it just comes out. And a lot of people mistake that one for a psychiatric illness or a mental illness. So that one goes undiagnosed for a while as well, because people just aren't as familiar with these symptoms.
Wow. So I'm learning so much. I know we spoke and I looked online and said, but I'm learning so much already. This is okay, great.
So we're Alzheimer's Tennessee, but honestly, we'll work with families with any of those other dementias as well.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Because as we're talking, I was just thinking I had a loved one many years ago that was going through this and have since passed, but it was many years ago. But I remember, talking about bugs coming out of the TV and hearing voices that weren't there and all this. And they were 88 years old at the time. So, but yeah, I just, like you said, I remember it was very confusing.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And so.
Very confusing for them as well.
Oh, totally.
And confusing for you. And so one of the things we do is, and one of my favorite things to do is just really walk families through that. Because I don't know what your experience was, but most of us are going to respond by trying to correct the person. Or we think if I can just show you, John, no, there's no bugs in the TV. Everything is fine, that's going to help you. Unfortunately, a lot of times it makes things worse. Because to me, that's very real. So we talk a lot about how do you respond to those hallucinations or delusions. And I use an image when I'm teaching people, and I say you put feelings over facts. So the facts that there are no bugs coming out of the TV don't matter. What really matters, I'm scared, I'm upset, I'm anxious. So help me deal with those emotions. Take care of the bugs for me, please. But maybe, say, oh my gosh, I see those too. How gross. Here, Mom, let's go in this other room. I'm going to take care of that. Now you've taken that away from me, and I don't have to worry about it the rest of the day because you're going to take care of it for me.
Actually, that's what happened. I remember because they were being cared for in a facility, and I remember that they were like, "Don't worry, we'll get an exterminator. We'll take care of this. It's all right. Let's get you out." And obviously, you know what happened, but it feels so much better.
And it's counterintuitive because you think about if you have a child and there's monsters under the bed, we think, well, surely if I show you there are no monsters, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Or open the closet.
Oh, they're
door.
just hiding. You know.
Yeah, they're really not there. Let me show you. When we think, and this is normal, we think if I give you evidence, if I prove to you, if I can just show you. But unfortunately, because of the confusion and the way the brain processes information, that approach typically doesn't work and can often make things worse for the person with dementia, because now they're even more confused. I'm seeing this and you're telling me it's not there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I remember distinctly one that was looking for money that they said they had lost and stored somewhere that was completely out there. But it was, I remember, pulling, no, here's the $20. You gave it to me. Remember to hold on to. Don't worry about it. I got it right here. Do you need it back?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm good. Subject dropped.
Yeah, because you dealt with the emotions, you dealt with the worry, the concern, instead of the fact that, no, you really didn't lose it. Would you like to know why we have so much trouble with that?
Why was it?
Well, we do live in the South.
Okay.
Lying is one of those things that we think sends you straight to the bad place.
Okay.
So a lot of people feel like, well, we can't lie to mom. We can't lie to dad. We can't lie to grandpa. So another thing we do is really help families take a look at that. If you truly believe there are bugs coming out of that television, it's not lying to you to agree with you and help you deal with that. Because I'm going to be more concerned about your feelings, your emotions, and your needs at the time. Yeah. Your anxiety is more important to me than the fact that I don't see any bugs coming out of TV.
Okay.
But we're very concerned about lying. And families often say, well, I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie. So for a while, people that dealt with Alzheimer's would say it's therapeutic fibbing or therapeutic lying. I don't use those words anymore because we're still calling it a lie. And if you're seeing the bugs, it's not a lie. To you, that's very real. So I instead teach families we're going to step into their reality. Step into their reality, accept what they're saying is real, and then I'm going to address what the real issue is. So the real issue isn't that there really aren't bugs. The real issue is you see them and you're upset. Let me help you. Yeah.
Well, that's a great way to look at it. Okay. You got all kinds of answers here today. That's great. Cool. Well, thank you for explaining all that. I appreciate that to help out some people that may have been confused about it. But
that's what we're here for.
And then also, I'm going to jump ahead if you don't mind. You all have some fundraisers and different events and different things coming up, right? So can we tease a little bit about those? Talk about them just a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you 2 definites and 1 teaser.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so 2 definites. So like many other nonprofit organizations, we do have to raise all of our own funds, and walks work. People do walks for all kinds of reasons. So we do have 2 walks for the Middle Tennessee region. Our first one, we just had the kickoff Wednesday, had a great celebration.
Nice.
We'll be walking for the Middle Tennessee Walk at Franklin on March the 25th. We're hosting that one, working with the Centennial Gives Back Club out of Centennial High School.
Gotcha.
They're also doing a big gala, and they've reached out to other high schools in the area to come to their fundraising gala. So if you have a high school student and you're listening, please reach out to the Centennial Gives Back Club at Centennial High School in Franklin. They've got a DJ, a big party. I'm going to dress up and go out like I'm in high school. It's going to be great. I think it's February something. I don't have that date in front of me. But that walk is March 25th, and love to have folks come out. You can bring your pets. You can dress up your pets and enter the best dressed pet contest.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We've got a great local band called Billy Tarkington and Bonafide Outlaw is going to be playing a concert for us, and just having a great time. You can get that information on our website, which is alztennessee.org, and that would be /Franklin Walk. And we have another walk coming up in our neighbor to the south, Murray County. So Columbia Spring Hill neighbors, we're having one down there, and that one is going to be on June the 3rd. A lot of the same information, but we have a DJ that's going to be playing there. Lots of fun activities for the kids and for pets. So those 2 walks coming up. But before that, we do all kinds of things. We work with local coffee shops and local restaurants, and they do things for us as well.
Okay, cool.
So Spring Hill, if anybody is in the Spring Hill area, you know of Grecian Family Restaurant. If you don't know the restaurant, you need to know the restaurant. Okay, all right. It's one of those places. It's not a sticky pig, John, but my goodness, it's great local family. They're very involved in the community. They're doing a couple of percentage days for us. We've got a coffee shop down there doing a premier coffee. So you can find all of that on our Facebook page.
Nice.
Or not on the website, but on the Facebook page is where I post those. But we're doing our very first fundraiser ever in Rutherford County.
All right. When's that?
That one is May 20th.
Okay, May 20th.
And I kind of think we're gonna be talking about that again another time. Is that right?
Okay, yeah.
Awesome. So that's a teaser. Be on the lookout. May 20th. Now, if you want to cheat, you can go look on the website and find it. But we're let's just say we're gonna have a rocking good time in Murfreesboro on May 20th. Yeah,
that's for sure. That's awesome. Cool. Well, on the fundraising stuff, if anybody local wants to get involved with that, like you said, businesses help out. How can they reach out to you? How can they find you to to do that? Like if another coffee shop here locally wanted to do that.
Absolutely love to work with some local coffee shops, local restaurants, anybody in the community, because the important thing I want folks to understand is that we are a local organization, as I mentioned when we were chatting earlier. So every penny raised in Rutherford County is going to go back to serve families right here in Rutherford County in Middle Tennessee. I cover about 14 counties. So my office is, I'm part of Alzheimer's Tennessee, but if we do a fundraiser here, I get to have those funds to invest back in the community, doing things like the community education I just did at Stonecrest Hospital, starting new support groups. We have some of those in Smyrna. So, but it does take, because we're a nonprofit, I'm able to do that and serve families because of community involvement. So joining us for the walks, we definitely need corporate sponsors. And we need corporate sponsors for the, the May the 20th thing that we're not talking about yet. You can reach out to me at the office, which is 615-580-4244. Hop on the website and see what kinds of things we've got coming up. And then my email address is my name, and I know you've got my card there, but it's Cheryl.Blanchard at TNALZ.org. And I'd be happy to let folks know everything we've got going on. But certainly love to have Rutherford County involved in bringing these needed services to families right here in our area.
Nice. Cool. Well, as far as like the funds you raise and how it goes back into the community, I'm learning more about nonprofits as we go. We're actually setting one up ourselves. So it's how do the funds, like, how does that go back? Is it allocated like 25% goes to this, so much goes to this, or is it just on an as needed basis, or how's that work?
I am thrilled to tell you that on our accounting reports, 86 cents of every dollar raised goes right back into programs and services for families. 86 cents of every dollar.
That's a very high number.
It's a very high number.
That's awesome.
And I love saying that. So, and for me, for the things that we do, that means that all of those funds, like from the event on May 20th, is going to go back into my office and allow me to bring more services to Rutherford County, to talk to more families, to do more community education and things like that.
Great.
But we have a very low administrative overhead. It does take money to raise dollars. So I think maybe around 10% or so, maybe 8, 9, 10% goes into development, because you got to let people know you're here. And then a very low administrative cost, so that we're able to put everything, the majority of what we do goes back in the community.
So your administrative costs are only like 4%?
Pretty low. I actually have a chart. I don't know if I brought that for you, but I've actually got that mapped out that I can send you.
No, that's great, because I mean, you see things on the news and stuff, like other organizations, different stuff, when they put out their numbers, and it's like 70% goes into, admin and this and that in the company, and only 30% goes back to the community. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? But so to hear 86%.
86%. Yeah, and that's it. And that's a challenging thing. And it's it's troubling to me, because, you see an appeal and you think, well, I support that cause, I want to give. But it's really important to know where your money goes. And we're real transparent about that. That we can show you our reports that it goes right back into the community.
So speaking of that, then, so if somebody would, take me, support Alzheimer's, and they think, oh, Alzheimer's Association. No, it's Alzheimer's Tennessee.
Right. So that's a national organization, and we're not affiliated with the national organization. A lot of people do get that confused and think that we're a chapter. We're not. So we, like I said, we're 40th birthday. 1983, we were founded in Knoxville as an independent organization. So we're standalone. And as you can see on the map, we go from Northeast, actually up into Virginia a little bit, because people there wanted our services, all the way down to Memphis. So 6 regional offices just serving the state of Tennessee.
Cool. Okay, I just wanted to put that out. Make sure you go to Alzheimer's Tennessee.
Thank you.
Okay.
.org.
Good. .org. Awesome. Cool. So we touched on the 3 events you got coming up. Is there any other ones down the future that you would like to do, or maybe something you're looking to do, maybe you need some help with, that maybe our viewers or ourselves can help with?
Anything. I love. So the May 20th one was my brainchild. I really wanted to do that, and I can't wait to share more with everybody about that one. So we do walks, and a lot of people do walks because they do raise money. But I'm a creative type. Okay. So the more fun, the better. Yeah. So if somebody wants to do percentage nights at restaurants are always great. People love to go out and eat. We have great restaurants here in the area.
Oh, so for sure. Yeah.
A coffee shop that would do a percentage day, a restaurant, any other business that says, hey, today. If you come in today, we're going to donate 10% of today's profits to Alzheimer's Tennessee. Those are simple, easy things to do. We're talking about having a Mardi Gras type party with another an assisted living organization. Talking about doing that for us. Nice. Concerts, any musician that just says, hey, I'd love to do a concert. Any creative idea that you have, we can turn that into a way to support Alzheimer's Tennessee.
Very cool.
And we also take honorariums and memorials. So if someone passes, if you want to say in lieu of flowers, would you please make a donation? We definitely have a way to recognize that person, the person who donated and the person that was honored. So certainly we are accepting of those too. If you form a walk team and somebody doesn't want to walk, they can still go support your team. So just lots and lots and lots of ways. And I'd love to tell you one of the things that I love doing the most, if I may. So one of the things that because when you say, well, I'm donating this, where does the money go? Well, the money goes to, just yesterday morning, I had 2 family members call. And we'll do a personal caregiver consultation. So a young man calls, say, hey, I'm moving my grandfather in with me and I don't know anything. So, okay, let's start at the beginning. So we basically will hold their hand and walk them from mom's a little confused. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's help you find somebody to get a diagnosis. And then I don't know. I can't do this alone. I need help. All right, let's look at getting you some in-home help. So we go all the way through. And we also get them involved with our support groups. So any family that's listening, if they have a loved one with this and they just need answers, just need some support, need some encouragement, information, call us. We'll do that. I can meet you at home. We can do it on the phone. We can do it via Zoom, whatever. I have family members sometimes join us from Colorado. And we have a family meeting. But all of that is just to help that family walk through. My background is in family counseling and social work. So I love that I get to spend that time with those families. We have the support groups. We also do a lot of advocacy. So another event's not a fundraiser, but February the 7th, we are going over to the Capitol to meet with our state representatives, our legislators and senators. So if anybody is just interested in speaking out for the needs of families impacted by Alzheimer's disease, or if somebody's just passionate about the cause, again, you can go on the website and allstennessee.org advocacy and register. We all wear purple T-shirts that say voice on them. So everybody recognizes us when we come in, and we get to have a few minutes with each and every one of our local representatives and senators. We're going to meet with the governor and the lieutenant governor, and it's a fantastic day. Just sharing. Our topic this year is going to be a little more focused on the silver alert.
Oh, the silver alert. Yeah. We've posted several of those. And we get the alerts from the city and missing databases and stuff like that. And the silver alerts, you see a lot of those. How do I word this? I'm sorry. I'm trying to think how to word it. It's when people get, they need their medication, please help, that sort of stuff. Like they're lost, they wandered off and they really need your help. So does that happen a lot? Or?
So the silver alert, actually what the law states is it's any adult and it's 18 or over who for some physical reason or cognitive reason may not be able to find their way back home. Now, the majority of them, yes, are dementia. And the majority of them you're going to see are older folks. But if you do see somebody who's like 25 and they have a silver alert, it's not wrong. It means something is going on with that person where they may not be able to find their way back home.
Got it.
I know we worked very closely with local law enforcement and TBI and our state legislators to get that passed. So we're excited when that was passed. It is truly saving lives. We've got about a 89 to 90% safe return rate
fantastic.
On that. And the TBI issues those after local law enforcement comes out. TBI actually is who issues the alert. And we do encourage people to pay attention to those and look. But we also encourage people to be prepared for that. And that's what this is.
I was just saying, I see a silver alert kit.
We created a silver alert kit, again, working with local law enforcement and TBI. Hey, what do you need when you go out on these calls? What information do you need to help you get looking? Would you like to know what the number one thing is they need that families don't have?
What's that?
Current photograph.
No way.
Yeah, current photographs.
I wouldn't have guessed that for sure.
Current photographs. Well, think about it. I have children that are probably much older than yours. I used to have a camera where the film ran out and you took it to the drugstore and got it developed and you had pictures. Now you have 5,000 on your phone. You've never printed them out. Or you haven't taken a recent one. Maybe at Christmas you take a lot of pictures. But, they don't have a current photograph. And the TBI says we have got, in local law enforcement, we've got to have that current photograph. Because you've seen them sometimes with a much older picture because TBI has to go in and pull a picture from their driver's license. And it doesn't look like them anymore. So we've got instructions in here on what kind of photographs they want, how to take them and keep them in here. And we've got the personal profile form in here, which includes things not only like your current address, but remember that short-term and long-term memory? So law enforcement might find me wandering and see my Murfreesboro address, but when I say I'm going home, I'm going to Macon, Georgia, because that's where I'm from. That's going to be in here. So they can look at that and see, oh, they're thinking about a previous address. This really is where they live now. So it really helps families be prepared in the event that their loved one wanders. These are absolutely free to families, again, thanks to the support we get from community partners.
Okay,
and if anybody wants one, again, contact me at the office, or you can go on our website and order one.
Yeah, I see it says alztennessee.org/silver alert. So you can check out more information on that. Cool. Well, you had mentioned your background was it family counseling? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So my master's degree is in social work.
Okay, gotcha.
Undergraduate in psychology, and I did a lot of family counseling and working with people, but in different capacities. But I met my first person with Alzheimer's disease about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I thought, that's it. That's what I want to do the rest
really?
of my life.
That was the turning point right there?
It was a turning point because I was working with his wife through a home health agency.
Okay.
And she was the identified patient. Anybody medical will know that term. Yeah. She was the patient, but she was his caregiver. And we were taking her knee replacement needs and helping her with that. But nobody was addressing that she was taking care of him and didn't have any resources and didn't understand what she was doing. Wow. And I said, that can't be. Yeah. So I went back and I wrote a program for the home health agency. I said, I got to get in there. If there's somebody with dementia, we need to get in there and help them with that too. And it wasn't the identified patient, but yet it was, because our patient was going to be left alone to take care of him without any help and needed tools. Yeah. So we started doing that, like I said, around 2000, a long time ago, 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there at the place I worked. And ever since then, I just started studying. If there was a class, a certification, whatever, I did it all so that I could do this.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So obviously you're doing a good job with it. I mean, look where you're at now.
We got a lot going on.
So, yeah, that's fantastic. So you touched on it briefly earlier, but for those listening and watching, like if they started to see the signs, or what would those signs be to kind of make somebody go, I need to look into this. What would step one be?
If they're seeing signs, or you want to know what the signs are?
Actually, you know what? Let's do both. What are the signs, and then what can they do?
So some of the signs are that short-term memory loss. When you start noticing that, you just told mom or dad that 2 hours ago and they're asking again, they have zero recollection of it. Can't find that short-term memory. Word finding. If they get lost in conversation, seem to not know that you've already talked about that part, and they kind of go back to the beginning, because by the time you get here, they've kind of lost that. They'll use the same word over and over, or use a descriptive word. So let's say if I wanted that and I'm pointing at, can you hand me that, John? I need that. That, you push the button and it takes a picture, and you're going to go, oh, the camera? Yeah. The camera.
Gotcha.
So we do a lot of that. Or I use the same word over and over, or use a word that can fit anything. So I might call that a whatchamacallit or a doohickey. Okay. So we do that a lot. Later on, they'll really have trouble with things that they should remember, like the neighbor's name or the preacher's name. Definitely, if someone gets lost driving, please address that. Yeah. So, and a lot of these things are things that we might do from time to time. Okay. But the big difference between normal aging and normal forgetfulness and signs of dementia is that you and I will have that aha moment. We'll go, oh, that's right. I parked my car on the other side of the Target parking lot, because I do that one all the time.
I've lost my car before, yes.
Do not have dementia. And that is because you've got so many things going on, and your brain can only process so many working memories at a moment. Okay. So if you're in the store and your wife calls and says, hey, we need ketchup, and then you remember you've got to help the kid with a science project, and then the boss calls and all that, by the time you get to here, where I parked the car has fallen off.
Yeah, you're like, where the heck did
I park the car? Yeah. Thank goodness for the button.
I know, right?
Right. But the difference is you can retrace your steps. So you're going to retrace your steps and go, oh, that's right. I walked in on the Starbucks side because I remember smelling the coffee, not on this side. My car is over there. And you can find it. You have what I call an aha moment. Okay. The person that's really getting dementia and starting to move forward with that is not going to have that aha moment. Remember why? Because that memory was never stored on the shelf. Got it. So they can't go back and find it because it wasn't there. So if you start seeing those signs, give us a call. One of the things, since we're a local organization, is I know a lot of the local doctors and the communities, the assisted living and the memory care. So the first step is to definitely get an accurate diagnosis. And again, don't stop at that word dementia. That's not a stopping point. That's a beginning point. Got it. And I hate to compare it to cancer, but much like that, if somebody says to you these days, somebody was diagnosed with cancer, your next question is what kind? Yeah. And what are we going to do about it? Yep. Well, we need to get there with this and not just stop with, well, mom has dementia. Why? Yeah. What is it? Is it reversible? Okay. We also want to make sure it's not something like depression, which mimics dementia so closely that we call it pseudo-dementia. Okay. But guess what? You can treat depression and you can alleviate those symptoms. Oh, yeah. Delirium, sudden onset cognitive changes. So dementia comes on slowly. You start noticing things. But delirium, sudden onset cognitive changes.
Really?
You can reverse what caused the delirium, like an infection, like a vitamin deficiency, and we can alleviate those symptoms. So the first step is get an accurate evaluation and an accurate diagnosis, and we can help connect people with who they need to talk to for that.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I did my first degree in college was actually psychology, and I remember doing an internship at a facility and a local prison of all things too. But I remember some of the patients there, with the mental illness and different things. But learning that, boom, those sudden changes was, like you said, it was more. It may not necessarily be Alzheimer's, but it was something triggering that that we had to address, and I remember that. So that's cool that you see that, address it, change it, all that. So it was, sorry, I'm just reliving memories now.
That's a great segue, because what I want families to understand also is know your family member. Know your family member, because guess what? If I know mom was normal yesterday, but she does have a delirium, and women particularly are prone to UTIs as they age, and they will have this delirium, sudden changes in behavior, sudden changes in cognition, just very, very different. If you take them to the emergency room, please let the first words out of your mouth be, "This is sudden. She was not like this yesterday," because that's their first time seeing her. And if they're asking her for a medical history or asking her questions about what's going on and she can't answer, it's very easy to take that jump to, oh, she has cognitive issues or she has dementia. She doesn't. We need to find out what's going on here and fix it so that we can get her back to the way she was yesterday. So definitely no, sudden onset is not dementia. That's a delirium. We can do something about that. Dementia is slow coming on. You start noticing things for a while. But it's also very easy to miss. Because when you live with someone, you tend to fill in the gaps for them anyway.
I gotcha.
If you and I met elsewhere. We may say, "Oh my gosh, what was the name of that restaurant? Oh gosh, where was it? Oh, that's right. It was the Christmas tree lighting on the square, and we went to so and so." We share that memory, so we can fill in those gaps.
Got it.
Well, imagine being married for 50 or 60 years. How many gaps you fill in for each other?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
So it's very easy for them sometimes to miss it because they're so used to sharing memories.
Got it.
They're so used to kind of helping that person. They just start helping a little more and don't notice that they're helping more.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, yeah, that makes total sense when you explain. Like, you're really good at explaining this stuff, so thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's where I apologize. That's where I was going with the story. I got off tangent, but I remember one patient specifically that, couldn't form correct sentence. The cloud, watch, blue wall, TV, hi, and you're, but it was, they actually, through different drug use, but they had an infection that had spread in their body, and the infection is what was doing it. And so once they addressed the infection, boom, they were fine. And, but it was not necessarily Alzheimer's or dementia, but seeing those things and spotting it and addressing it is where I was trying to go with that.
And so you have to be, I kind of sometimes talk about, we have to be the little detectives.
We
have to know what's going on, because that happened for a reason. And instead of just writing somebody off and saying, grandpa's just old. No. Is it just old? Is that normal, or is something else going on? Is it something we can treat? And we want to ask those questions. What's going on? How can we help this person? And we also identifying the disease process. I mentioned Lewy body earlier. I work with a great neuropathologist in this area, and he says all the time, if you treat Lewy body dementia with the same medications you would treat Alzheimer's disease, they get worse, not better.
No.
They get significantly worse.
Wow.
And Lewy body is related to Parkinson's disease. So sometimes you can develop the dementia first and then get the symptoms of Parkinson's. Sometimes you get Parkinson's first and then get the dementia. But the medications that would treat Alzheimer's can make those Lewy body symptoms worse, the rigidity worse, not even being able to get out of bed or feed themselves. So, be on the lookout for that as well. If they're getting worse, maybe we need to take a look at that medication and make sure they're on the right path.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, we actually received a silver alert. This has been a while on this one, but I remember it was an elderly gentleman, and he got in his car and drove and just forgot and just kept driving. And they were looking for him, and he ended up being in like Chicago or something, and somebody found him. But I would imagine that's a pretty extreme case, I would think, or no?
He would think. One of the hardest things for families to address with their loved one is driving. Dad's been driving since he drove a tractor on the farm. He was 8 years old. He's been driving 70 years. I get that, but he was driving before dementia. And because the first 3 stages of dementia are so easy to miss, oftentimes by the time someone gets diagnosed, they're like 3.5 or 4 on the scale, which goes to 7. So by then, cognitively, they're already at a place where they really shouldn't be driving. Because what it was, it's the problem solving. It's the quick reaction. It's not remembering long-term memory, brake gas. It's what do you do when there's a detour? And that never happens in Nashville.
Not at all.
What do you do if there's a cone? What if there's construction?
Yeah.
I was stuck in what happened on I-24 last Friday.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't know what to do with that.
Okay.
So the silver alert went into effect 2021 and July. And since then, 22 have been located out of state.
Wow. 22.
So they'll get in the car and start driving somewhere and either get turned around and forget where they're driving or they forget where they were going, but they know they were going somewhere. This happens with walking too. I was going somewhere.
Yeah.
And so instead of stopping and trying to figure out how to get home, they have that thought, well, I was going somewhere. So they'll keep going.
Yeah.
And then they'll end up in Chicago.
Yeah, this one. I mean, it was somewhere way out in another state. And you're like, how the heck did he get over there? He just kept going.
Yeah, they'll keep going. Oftentimes we hear they run out of gas. I had one that ran out of gas one time, and some great law enforcement officers stopped to help her. Didn't know she had dementia because casual conversation, they can carry on. So it's easy to miss in a casual setting unless you know what to look for.
Yeah.
So they talked to her, helped her get gas, got her back on the road, and instead of coming back to Nashville, she continued going in the other direction. The second time she ran out of gas, somebody was able to figure out something was going on and called her brother, was her care partner, to come and get her. But she was in South Alabama.
Wow, no kidding.
But they'll run out of gas because not understanding that gauge means I need to stop.
Yeah.
Or get stuck somewhere because of construction. Sometimes just pull over and just not be quite sure where they are or how to get home.
Okay.
So it's vital. It saves lives, and we encourage you to pay attention to those.
That right there. Okay. And then actually, just are there? I'm sure it gets worse over time, or it can get worse over time, I should say. So, what would be like an extreme example of something? If I'm just curious how far this goes.
You mean the progression of Alzheimer's disease? Well, we typically use something called the Global Deterioration Scale, which starts at 1 and goes to 7. So at the 1, you don't even know you have this yet, but researchers now tell us that Alzheimer's disease is developing in the brain long before you see symptoms.
Oh, wow. No
so it's there, it's developing, and there's a lot we can do about prevention. So if you're a young person, you want to say, hey, I don't ever want to get this, we've got that too. I can share with you all of the research.
Yeah, we'll get to that one next. Yeah. Okay.
But what you do is kind of like going up a mountain cognitively. So when you're an infant, you're totally dependent on somebody else. And then you learn how to sit up, and then you learn to crawl and walk, and go to school, reading and writing, high school, college, and then you get a job. And you're up here with all these high order cognitive skills.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, you kind of go down the mountain in reverse. So first we're losing those high order skills. We're losing the managing a business, managing money, balancing a checkbook, taking care of a house, living alone.
Yeah.
Then we get into sequencing issues where they might put their outer garments over their undergarments.
Okay.
Then the brain gets to where we can't even recognize common objects. So I might not be able to recognize that a pen is for writing. I'm looking at it, and I call this like Little Mermaid syndrome.
Okay. Yeah,
she had all these gadgets and gizmos, didn't know what they were for. So their brain, because of the disease, they're looking at items and don't know what they're for or how to use them. And then in the very final stages of Alzheimer's, they do resort back to that state of total dependence on somebody else for all of their care.
Gotcha.
Their bathing, toileting, eating, everything. Many people actually get to the point, if they live long enough with Alzheimer's disease, they'll get to the point where even chewing and swallowing becomes something their brain doesn't tell their body how to do.
Oh my
and
gosh.
so a lot of people will actually die from aspiration pneumonia because they'll get something down in their lungs.
No kidding. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I didn't realize that was, that's level 7, you said, right?
That's all. Yes, that's all the way back to the end stages, and unfortunately, Alzheimer's disease is terminal. There is no cure. We can treat it. They just came out with a new drug that we're really watching the research on that. But we're looking to kind of slow down the development of the plaques and tangles. But there's something that everybody does every single day that researchers tell us can actually help prevent Alzheimer's. It can prevent the beta amyloid. Well, you might not like the answer.
Oh no,
most people don't.
Bathe? I hate bathe. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, but it's probably worse than that. Sleep. We need we do not sleep enough. And we have got
guilty as charged.
Yeah. Yep. So we've got a lot of evidence now from researchers showing us that during the time that you sleep, that beta amyloid enters the brain, but little brain janitors go in there and clean it all out. And it enters the brain, and they go in and clean it all out. Guess when they work?
When you sleep.
When you're asleep.
Yeah. Now, is that more of a subjective thing, like person to person, or is it like you need at least this much sleep, or this, or how much?
Most of us say eat a good 7-8 hours of sleep a night, solid, not waking up several times a night. One of the worst things we do is keeping those devices in our hands right before we fall asleep, because your brain isn't getting a full, it really is time to sleep. So we all really need to work on that, the sleep habits, sleep hygiene, we call it. But, they will say, okay, a teenager, they're growing so fast, and babies obviously need more. Teenagers really need so much more than they get. It's ridiculous is what the research says they need.
Wow.
But as a standard, a good solid 8 hours of sleep.
I'm in trouble.
Really good for your brain. Aren't we all? Yeah.
I think I give out 4 or 5 maybe,
way.
if that. But
yeah. But there's a lot of other preventive things that you recommend, like a Mediterranean style diet.
So, I have heard that. Yes.
Yeah, we call it the mind diet because they actually, for the brain, combined the Mediterranean diet with the DASH, which is for heart.
Okay.
Heart disease.
Gotcha.
And so mind is what it's called. You can look those guidelines up, but it's very much based on a Mediterranean diet.
Okay, cool.
But another thing that we don't do enough of anymore, we don't sleep enough, but something else is social engagement. So being around other people, talking, interacting.
See how long I can be on my phone.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, your phone is your phone, but this face-to-face talking, interacting.
Yeah.
There are a lot of studies that will show that the number one predictor of longevity is social engagement.
Yeah.
But for people with dementia, they want to withdraw. Why? Because they get lost in conversation. They get embarrassed. They can't keep up. So they tend to want to withdraw. Yeah. But what we know is that that's one of the worst things for them, that being engaged and interactive and still involved is very, very important.
I've seen that before, and actually heard that from doctors from back in the day, and they say just talk to them. Yeah. Just keep them going.
Yeah.
Okay.
People say, well, I don't know what to say. I don't want to do it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Talk about anything.
Yeah.
But getting to know them, like for me, my son's, I told you he's a musician. Get me talking about my son, and it's going to be an hour-long conversation. Yeah. So if you get me on something I do know. Okay. So sometimes what families can do if somebody is coming to visit, say, hey, John played football in high school. He also played baseball. He loves classic cars, not new cars, but classic, like the old Mustangs. You can talk about all that stuff. So that's helping visitors who don't know what to say. Yeah. Have some ideas. Okay. Because if you can get me talking about, remember the old long-term stuff on the other shelf, then I've got something we can interact with. But it's not like there's something magical you can say that's going to keep me from having dementia. Yeah. There's nothing magical you can say that's going to make it go away. Yeah. And it's not contagious. Yeah. So just go. Just go. Just be there. Yeah. You don't have to say the right thing, but just being there for that family is huge. And you'd be amazed at how many caregivers tell me they're completely alone, that the family doesn't come, friends don't come, church doesn't come. People just are there. We're scared of this disease. We're scared of it, but it's not contagious. Yeah, that makes you want to go to the VA right now. Yeah, go love on some folks. They need you. They do.
Well, I remember you said that we did an event a long time ago with the Tennessee State Veterans Homes and over at the VA. Yeah. And like you said, there was many of them, the patients there were kind of standoffish, wouldn't really talk. But I remember one gentleman specifically, he was in World War II. Yeah, in World War II. And he would tell you stories for hours. Yeah. And it was like, wow, just go ahead. But also on top of that, they were fascinating stories. You learn a lot about this. So.
And that history, I've had the privilege of sitting with some veterans from World War II as well, because of the work I've done with the elderly for the last 15 years. And wow, you go in and you see some of their memorabilia on the wall. Yeah. And I have a guy I was just talking to the other day works in a community, and he has a veteran who thinks that this guy served with him. And of course, he's way too young. He didn't, but this guy thinks he did. And so they just start talking about the ship. He's learned the ship name and some of the places the ship served. And they have these amazing conversations as if this other person was there. Yeah. And it allows him to share and allows this younger guy to learn. That's a twofer right there. Yeah. That's really incredible, though. See, hey, kudos to that guy, whoever that is. I was thrilled. I said, way to go. But just to know that, to step into that reality, just step in there, be that person. And if they think you're Kevin Bacon, for heaven's sake, do Footloose and be Kevin Bacon. Because the ultimate thing is, does it matter? Does it matter that this person thinks I'm Princess Diana? No. I'd love to be Princess Diana. I can do that. Does it matter? Does it matter that I'm seeing butterflies flying around the room? Yeah. So why do you want to tell me there are no butterflies? Yeah. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. When it does matter is if that belief, that hallucination is endangering me. I gotcha. So if I see butterflies flying in the room, let me go. They're pretty and I love it. Yeah, yeah. But if I have a delusion and I'm standing on the roof of this building and I think I can fly, you gotta get into that one, because I'm gonna get injured. Or if I'm doing something that might endanger somebody else. Yeah. But believing that you and I were shipmates in World War II. Yeah. Well, go with it. And I've seen it so many times too, actually, when people are talking, they light up when they're telling these stories. And so you're not only are you allowing them, you're helping them by them talking, but you're creating a very good moment for them. You know? And so they light up and they get big smiles and they're telling these stories. And that's really cool. I'm sorry, I still think about that guy that you said about the ship. That's really cool. Awesome. It was awesome. And the reason is you're giving them purpose and meaning. Yeah. You've given him purpose and meaning back, because what do they do most of the time? They're sitting and we write them off. Oh, well, they won't understand. Oh, they've got dementia. So please don't talk about the person in front of the person because they're still there. They're absolutely still there.
Wow.
And if you can find a way to give them purpose and meaning in what they're doing, even if it's something that I don't use the word troublesome behavior, problematic behavior, or difficult behavior, because guess what behavior is? It's a form of communication.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
If I'm behaving a certain way, if I can't find the words, remember, I can't find the words, I can't form the sentences to tell you, hey, I don't feel well, but I might pace and I might get into thing and I might pull up my clothing. So we have to watch that behavior. And if you can find a way to give meaning to what I'm doing, it'll change everything like it did for a guy who lived in a community. If I have time for one more story.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this guy lived in a memory care community. And he was always going to the doors. And that's a big fear. They call that elopement, or he's an elopement risk. Well, to me, elopement is you buy me a ring and sneak off somewhere. You know, that's
let's
elopement.
Let's
go to Vegas. But elopement is the term that communities use for somebody who's trying to get out of the community.
Okay.
In a memory care, the doors are locked. They have alarms and things like that. But this guy every day would go to the doors and turn the handles, and all they thought was that he was trying to get out.
Oh. Until
one day, somebody, remember I said you have to be a detective. Instead of just saying, oh, he's so troublesome, he's problematic. And they were constantly telling him, no, Mr. Jones, you can't do that. No, Mr. Jones, leave the door alone. No, Mr. Jones, come back over here. Well, that wasn't a pleasant experience for anybody. Finally, instead of just looking at the behavior, somebody said, what is this about? What could this possibly be about? And they found out what he used to do for a living. Guess what he did?
Oh, what?
He was a security guard.
Was he really?
He was checking the doors, unlocking up. So that community took that on, realized that there was purpose behind what he was doing, gave him a fake set of keys.
Let him check.
And every day they would say, hey, come on, it's time to lock up. And they would let him go and check and do his thing. Okay. Now he has purpose. He has meaning for that behavior. And instead of being told,
he's protecting people.
He was doing his job.
Yeah, very cool.
But it takes a few steps back to see what could this be about? And we kind of have a tendency to just say, well, they've got dementia, so they just do that. Don't do that. Let's find out what's going on, because they took that one and took it from something that was causing them difficulty to something that gave him purpose and meaning, and it changed it for everybody.
Wow, that's really cool. I like that. That's awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and talking with us and sharing all that and about Alzheimer's Tennessee and everything you all are doing. I know you're going to come back later. We have another one.
Can't wait.
That'll be a fun one. We're going to have some other people with us and about a big event you got coming up. So we'll talk about that later. But one more time, if you don't mind, like, website, social media, email, whatever. How can people, if they want to get involved, how can they? Throw it all out there.
Absolutely, got it. So my office, I have a physical office in Franklin, but as I said, I cover 14 counties, and I'm a Rutherford County girl. So you can reach me either at the office, or I carry the phone with me all the time, 615-580-4244. The website is www.alztennessee.org. My personal email address is my name, Cheryl.Blanchard @tnalz.org. And the Facebook page is Alzheimer's Tennessee, Inc., Middle Tennessee. And that is the place where I put all those, the secret event is there, but all the walks, all the events, all the fundraisers, I'm always putting those on Facebook, putting those on events. You can also find me by my name, Cheryl Blanchard, on LinkedIn. So any professionals want to connect on a professional basis, I'd love to get to know more folks here in Rutherford County, and love to just invite the entire community to join us in the work that we're doing here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on and sharing all that. And for all those watching or listening, you now you have all our info if you want to get involved. Anybody looking to get involved with fundraising, or can they donate on the website if somebody just wants to straight donate?
Yeah, and you can donate. You can do anything like that. But then especially any family that's dealing with this disease that needs those support services, that's what we're here for.
Nice. Awesome. Well, you have it. I'll put all that in the description as well, so everybody can get that. And for everybody watching and listening, we appreciate you tuning in as always. We'll see you on the next one.